Let's talk about the 7th question in the recursion and financial modeling section of the 2025 exam 2 paper. Declan is a filmmaker and a content creator. He has taken out a reducing balance loan. Interest is calculated monthly and he is making monthly repayments. 3 rows of the amortization table are given to you below, and part A is the easy question where they ask you what amount in dollars did he borrow. The first outstanding balance is the amount he borrowed. Why is the interest associated with payment 2 lower than the interest associated with payment 1? So here you have to talk about the fact that the interest on a reducing balance loan is calculated on the outstanding principal balance, which reduces after every repayment. And then because they mentioned payment 2 being lower than payment 1, you talk about that as well. After the first payment, the principal balance reduced from 850,000 to this value. And as the interest is calculated on the lower outstanding balance, the resulting interest amount is smaller. You can, of course, concise them and make it a smaller answer, but you have to touch upon these aspects in a simpler sentence. Part C. The interest rate on Declan's loan is 4.2% compounding monthly. Now, the minute I see this piece of information, I always calculate the monthly rate of interest as a decimal, especially because I see there's an amortization table given below it, and this value could help us answer some questions. So that's 4.2% per annum, which means yearly. So that's 4.2 divided by 12, which will give you the monthly rate percent, which is 0.35%. And that converted to a decimal, which will be useful in calculating some of these values on the table, is 0.35 divided by 100, and that gives you 0.0035 as a decimal. Now here they've also said round your answers to the nearest cent, which is 2 decimal places. And they've asked you to fill up these 3 spaces. And now interest is a percentage of the outstanding balance. And so you'll take this value, 0.0035, and multiply that into, it's a percentage of your outstanding balance of 82443.59, and that gives you a value 2885.55. Now, if you know the concept of reducing balance, it means that the repayment that you make goes towards the interest first, and the remaining goes towards the principal reduction, which further reduces your outstanding balance. So in order to calculate the principal reduction, it is the repayment per month, take away the interest, and that gives you a value 12,845.33. Now this principal reduction value is actually what reduces your outstanding balance. So when you take your previous outstanding balance and you subtract from it your principal reduction, you get the next outstanding balance, which is So these are standard questions that usually occur in every paper. Now the last question is usually what sets students apart. The last payment required to fully pay the loan. Now when I read the phrase fully pay the loan, I understand that the future value is 0. And here they've given you the last payment correct to the nearest cent. Now, how many payments of this previous repayment that you are making did Declan make before his final payment? So use the financial solver for this And what you have to be careful is with the signs. So the question is how many? So that's going to be a blank. The interest is 4.2. Please don't put the percentage sign. It naturally assumes it to be a percentage per annum. The principal value is your outstanding that you borrowed. Now, because the loan that you borrowed was money that came to you, any money that comes to you is always a positive. So that's 850,000 with a positive sign, which you don't have to put because it naturally assumes it's positive. The repayment is money because it's a reducing balance loan. You're making repayments, which is money is leaving you. And when money leaves you, it's always a negative sign. Now, in future values, obviously, you're going to close the loan, so it's 0. And the payments and the compounds per year is 12 because it's monthly. And when you put all this information into the calculator, you get an N value of 59.99998928. Now, is it important to write all these decimal places? Yes, it is, especially when you're showing a calculation. And that tells you that it will be approximately 60 repayments. Now, because it's going to be 60 repayments, the 60th one is the value that they have given you to be 15,730.71, which accounts for this part of your time period. Now, which means that there's going to be 59 full payments. Now, usually, in a lot of questions I have seen, they don't give you this last final payment. So I'm just going to touch upon what you would do if the last repayment was not given. Now, how would you calculate it? The easiest way I found is to on your financial solver, replace N to be 60, go up. And if N was 60, obviously you must have overpaid because you're only going to have to account, the last repayment accounts only for this period of time. Now, keep all the other values the same, and your future value is going to be what you have to calculate. And that works out to be this value, 0.168364758, which approximately is 0.17. Now, this value turns out to be positive on your financial solver when you put 60 repayments. Of course, you don't put repayments, you just put 60 against N. Now, because it's positive, this tells you that this money should be coming to you. Now, that implies that you should not be making the full repayment that you have been regularly making, which is 15,730.88. And a part of it should be coming to you, which implies that you need to subtract 17 cents from your regular payment, and that will give you 15,730.71. So this and clearly this is lesser in value to your regular repayment, which accounts for this 0.99, which is almost one repayment, but not exactly one. So it's a little less than one, which is this one, which they've mentioned in the question. But if they hadn't mentioned it, this is how you calculate your final repayment. So this tells you that there are going to be 59 full repayments and before the final smaller payment. So hopefully this helps. Happy learning, guys.